Hi, everybody. Welcome to A Fern Between Us, episode 10.
Are we at 10 already? That's crazy. It's been a long lockdown, guys. We are two of the four owners of Vivac Winery. I'm Jesse.
I'm Michelle.
And today we are drinking Cabernet and Cabernet Rosé.
Very excited about these two wines. This rosé is one of my favorite of all the rosés in all of the world, which is saying a lot, I know, but it really is phenomenal. But let's do a little quick check-in, and
Okay.
That way we can lubricate.
We're coming off some bummer news, guys.
Yeah.
Governor just announced here an hour ago or something that still no dice for wineries, and even the brew pubs, I think, that had patios that were open today are probably not going to be able to be open again here for a little bit. I don't know. We were expecting Monday, June 1st, but it's not going to be that for us this time. So hopefully we get the A-OK here soon, I guess, huh?
Yeah, we're hoping that there's an update. She said wineries and breweries can continue to do curbside pickup, so that's great. Please continue to do that with us. We also still have our picnic items that are 25% off so that you can pick up a picnic and take it to go with your wine. But we are just crushed. We actually had already put up the shade sails and we distanced all the tables. It put a lot of thought and energy into how to welcome everybody in a very safe manner so that you could enjoy our beautiful patio and our vineyard. And
it was a little bit of a rush, though. We were going to be rushing right into Monday, and this gives us a little more time to perfect things, I think, and that way we'll be even more well prepared. But you have to try it before you actually, completely finish everything. So we'll see. But when we do open, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be fun.
It's
finally
so
gonna get
beautiful. The vineyard looks amazing. The flower beds look amazing. I'm so excited to have people back. Oh, I was really hoping. So
we finally get to do this. Whenever this happens, we're finally going to do table service. So it won't be this going to the bar thing. It'll be,
actually a much more enjoyable experience, I think,
wait
for a lot
staff
of
coming
people.
to you at the table, and that's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
But not Monday, and we'll let you know next week how it's shaping up.
And if you're so inclined to message the governor and say that all of your favorite local wineries really need to open their patios, it would help us immensely. Not having by the glass sales and tasting sales is really a painful pinch for us, and so we're really appreciative of all of you guys that have continued to order and keep us going through this time. But if you were so inclined, we're all trying to message the governor and say, hey, it's outside. We have so much land and space.
We can properly distance, which most patios can't. So
Exactly. And
wineries specifically have vineyards more often than not right there, and they can really stretch out. So.
And she authorized in-restaurant dining before allowing us to serve on our patio. So I just feel like that's a little confusing. I really respect our governor. I think she's doing a fabulous job. Regardless of politics, any of that, it's just a bummer for us. So we're just discussing that right before the show. So, but let's actually move on. Is there some fun other stuff that's going on for you, or?
I could tell you about the hillbilly hobbies that I was doing this afternoon, except for I'm not going to because that would incriminate. But you can guess it involves sterile things that we may or may not have been able to use, that we're going to use. Anyway. So I spent all afternoon doing that, which was fun. I haven't done that in a little bit.
Oh my gosh. The 1920s and the 2020s seem to have a lot in common. But let's move past that. Let's see. Is there anything new that we've been up to personally? I don't think so.
Can it be illegal stuff?
Oh my God, stop! No, we do not do that.
That's right. We don't. But
I'm gonna cut you off right now and move on if you can't stop.
we do have a almost 14-year-old that's learning how to do something like this behind the wheel of a. And that's been pretty exciting.
Yeah, well, and we do need to figure out some way to celebrate her birthday, which is coming up at the end of June. Maddox, Chris and Lily's son, just had a birthday at the beginning of May, and it's just really, how do you celebrate when you can't get together with people? And we've been seeing some stuff on social media, of course, you know, these parades of cars driving by and stuff, but we live in the middle of nowhere. That's not gonna happen. I don't know.
Seems like a parade for a 100-year birthday party is perfect, but for a 12-year, 8-year, 10-year, you know, that's weird.
It's just your friends drive by and hold out a sign like "Happy Birthday."
Right.
It's not like a parade.
Right.
I don't know if you're confused about how that works.
Duh.
He doesn't actually get on social media, by the way, so...
I get on the news, though. I understand some stuff.
All right, well, so, you know, if you have any good ideas for a 14-year-old, what we could possibly do.
Right. Who knows? Well, this 14-year-old also doesn't like to be around people anyway, so this is probably...
her birthday present will be, we leave her alone.
It's like, don't knock on my door all day. That'd be great. Thank you.
Well, let's jump into the wines. I see you're already out.
Mm-hmm.
Some days he's not drinking at all. Other days it seems to go back faster. I don't know.
Some
Maybe
days, yeah.
That 1920s style hobby of yours was assisting. I don't know. All right, so we are tasting our Rosé of Cab and our regular red Cab. So Cabernet Sauvignon, name of the grape. And I think it would be fun, since we have these two, to talk about a little winemaking 101.
All right.
Tell us how you make a rosé versus a red, and specifically what you and Chris do in the winemaking to make these. And if you can also highlight why the rosé of Cabernet is so different than the rosé of Sangiovese, other than two different grapes.
Ooh, other than just... Okay. So, in making a red wine, you crush up the grapes and then leave the skins in with the juice or whatever and add yeast. And so then it ferments with the skins. And over the period of a week or something, as it basically eats all the alcohol or all the sugars and makes it into alcohol, the yeast during that whole time it's steeping. It's like a tea bag, so it gets stronger and stronger and stronger with the flavor and color concentration of the skins of the grapes. The juice inside of there, the day you crush it, is generally, for most red grapes, is clear. It's like it would make a white wine if you immediately pressed it off.
Do you want to explain what crushing is?
Crushing is just basically opening, you know, like it goes through a crusher destemmer. So basically we take off all the grapes off of the stem, and the stem comes out one side, and everything else, the seeds, the skin, the juice, all come out the other side, and they go into a temperature regulated fermenter. And then we add the yeast in there. Maybe adjust the acidity a little bit if we needed to, or add some yeast nutrient. We definitely always add yeast nutrient so that the yeasts are nice and happy. But the long and the short of it is you basically add yeast, and then it ferments, and then the liquid that's in there is wine when we press it.
I was going to say another fun little piece of that is that when we're harvesting and making wines, that time for a winery is called crush. And we are crushing grapes.
Exactly.
Kind of a fun thing. That's what we're usually talking about when we're like, we are in the middle of crush, nobody call us.
Right, yeah, we're busy, day and night. Some wineries end up going like literally 24 hours a day. Like Rosé down in Albuquerque, they're going 24 hours a day for, I don't know, it's like 2 months or 3 months, 2.5 months.
They're
it's crazy.
A huge winery.
They're huge, not like us. But we, it's busy for us as well. But anyway,
Sorry,
so wine. So that's how you make a red wine. The only difference between this wine and this wine is that this spent more time on the skins. This one did not. So you have several choices. You can crush it and immediately put it in the press, which will render almost clear juice. But the pressing process takes an hour or two, and so you end up with a little bit of color, a little bit of flavor from the skins as well, even right then. Or you can crush it into a fermenter and then siphon off some of the juice that has been sitting for 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours. Any more than 24 hours, it starts to resemble a red real quickly. But anyway, with this one, Cabernet is a fairly colorful grape, so we immediately pressed it, and this is the color we ended up with. And
you pressed all of it at one time?
We did not leave any skin contact with the Cabernet Rosé, and we ended up with this just a glorious color.
Oh, it's electric. It's really hard to see.
Yeah, you can't see it on here, but
so go ahead and order it, and then you can see it for yourself.
Or in a week or 2 or 5 million years, when we can open up for glass, you can come down to the tasting room and get a glass of wine. That would be an awesome time to check it out as well. But by then we'll be like, super gray in the beard and totally broke. We'll be like,
But hair salons are able to open, so.
Hey, cheers. Yeah, we're all gonna be attractive at least on opening day, maybe.
Really fat, but at least my hair will be,
Or as attractive as we could possibly be at that point.
As I stand in line for food stamps because I can't get any money. Anyway, sorry.
So anyway, yeah. So then after we pressed it off the skins, then we add the yeast. And within a couple weeks, we'd run the fermentations on whites, which we consider a rosé a white. We run the fermentation on whites much cooler, so it takes, instead of 1 week, it takes maybe 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks to get all the way through fermentation.
And so, did you use the same yeast on the red as you did on the rosé?
Shoot, I'd have to look at my notes, but I couldn't say. I kind of doubt it, but I'm not sure, so maybe not.
And then with the Rosé of Sangiovese,
we did half of the batch was pressed right away, and half of the batch stayed overnight on skins.
And that's because it's a lighter skinned grape than the Cabernet grape.
Exactly, and this is a lot more purpley, and the other one has a lot more brick tones, so it's kind of like red or orange. It gets a little oranger, whereas this has like equal
almost
amounts
a hot pink.
Yeah, it's equal amounts of like red and like purple, which makes this hot pink thing, and it's just awesome. But both of them are incredible, and for different reasons. The acidities on this one is a little higher, and the flavors are just amazing. So
it's a little bit denser too. It's a bolder style of rosé, while still being light, still having layered complexity and intricacies, and really food friendly. But you can go a little bit bolder with your pairings because it's got a little bit more girth.
This is a manly drink, guys, or an everybody drink. But dudes shouldn't think of rosé as a ladies' drink. This is as stylish as you can get. This is like.
We actually have a question about that.
Okay. I'll wait.
So that's spot on.
That's really funny. I don't know the question. So.
I like to keep the questions away from Jesse because the spontaneous responses as we are live tend to really knock people's socks off. So we're going to keep along with that, and hopefully it's not too R-rated.
I'll try.
No promises. All right, so with the cab, a lot of people, when they think of Cabernet Sauvignon, think of giant Napa cabs, right? And this is not that. Now,
What are you getting in there?
oh,
Or is that what you wanted to go?
I was going to say something else, but, you know, I always like tasting notes.
How is this different from Napa Cab?
Well, it's lighter in body.
Yep.
It's higher in acidity. It's lower in alcohol.
Yep.
It's also, I love Napa cabs. So this is not, you can't really compare. It's apples and oranges.
Right.
But what I do really like about this wine is because it's lighter slightly in body, it still is a full-bodied red wine, but it's not so jammy and dense that I get those nuances, like earthy aspects that I really like, that accompany the fruit so that it has a little more complexity, a little more of that je ne sais quoi.
You could, a little more approachable, a little more food friendly. And then the complexity isn't covered up by so much size.
Well, and I mean, this, I can drink a whole bottle, no problem. With a Napa Cab, your palate tends to get fatigued. So you can enjoy a glass, you can, you know, have it with your meal. But after that, it gets a little heavy for me.
Yeah. Yeah, for me too, but you know, that's what we're used to. We're used to this more than we are the others.
Well, and you know, I say that, and I just ordered from Franciscan, so clearly we are fans. All right, so if you have anything else to say about the cab or the rosé, or are you ready to jump into questions?
Let's go questions, baby.
All right. All right, so the first question is, my husband loves wine but refuses to drink rosé. How do I get him to try it?
Oh, all right. I don't know how to get him to try it, per se, like, because I don't know who your husband is specifically or whatever, but the way I think about it, for me, it's if somebody's a red wine drinker,
This is the white for them.
Rosé is the white is white wine for a red wine drinker, because it's just a little more flavorful. It's a little more there's a little more interest there to me. And there's nothing stylier than a manly man, you know, that's so comfortable with themselves that they can do pink. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the pink shirt for the you know, the heartthrob in the 80s or something. Like, they're like, oh yeah, I don't know, maybe not.
Pink shirts are still relevant today.
All right. Yeah.
But,
all right.
But I also think that is what a lot of men are reacting to, is the color. That it's pink, it's a girly wine, and in actuality, in southern France, where rosé is really the king of wines, it's so immensely popular, and that's also where we fell in love with dry rosés and decided, Jesse and Chris decided to make one. The workers, they take a mid-morning break and they go to the bistro or whatever and have a glass of rosé. It's their mid-morning break.
It's actually,
and these are some hard-looking dudes.
It's actually on par with as refreshing as you know, a cold light beer as well. Like, just because, you know, I think of a red as more of like the IPA or the stout, or the, you know, it's a heavier feel, and you know, guys don't have a problem being like, I drink Budweiser and that's as light as you can get. This is much more of a flavorful, you know. So like, if it's about being like, oh, it's got to be heavier, it's got to be a beer in order to, this is, you know, and it's refreshing. So it's great for your mid-morning drink. It's great for all day. And then you can switch over.
That's
to
why they say rosé all day,
right?
But
and girls
also
have really co-opted it. Girls are like, dude, I love rosé, and I love that, and it's true, and they should, and that's the best movement I've seen, you know. But it's turned off a few dudes.
So do you think that in part, so the glass for years, one of the things that I heard was that the glass was too feminine for a lot of men, and that put them off from drinking wine. Now a lot more men are drinking wine out of a wine glass, but I wonder if it's the combination of the wine glass and then also pink that has them thinking that it's not, it's somehow embarrassing, and drink it out of a tumbler. Serve him the wine in a tumbler, see if he drinks it.
Right.
And he may decide that he really likes it enough that he wants to try it out of a proper glass where he can get more of the nuances.
Right.
And maybe he never will and he just wants to drink it out of the tumbler. That's fine too. We don't care. However you want to drink it. Out of the bottle? Maybe that's manly.
It's out of the bottles, manly.
I mean, I'm guessing
or whatever.
I realize I'm guessing that that's what the issue is.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I took it to that, but maybe
that's not the issue.
Maybe he just thinks that
there's also different body chemistries.
Sweet.
There's also there's the sweet thing. Often, some rosés, now more and more rosés are just as dry as everything else.
Yeah.
And those are the ones you really, really want probably, but it got a bad rap back in the 80s. But I don't know. I think there's different chemistry. That's what I was gonna say. There's different chemistries. So like your body chemistry, with some people, like that's why some people like a white or some people like a red. Maybe the tannins just stick to somebody's teeth and they just don't like red. That's why they love whites or drink whites exclusively. Or maybe somebody has heartburn and the high acidity of the whites ends up being a problem. It's a problem for me sometimes. So it just depends on your own body chemistry sometimes, and that's okay too. Like not everybody's gonna like all wines, but rosé is totally worth a try.
Yeah, and I think making sure that you get some high quality ones. Don't go for the cheap rosé at the grocery store. Actually, find a good one from a winery like a little winery in New Mexico called Bach, and see if that's a little bit more in keeping for the flavor profile too.
We can definitely ship you wine any day, and we need to too. By the
way,
we
need to keep doing that.
We're expecting an influx of money here.
We were like, yes, we're welcoming you, and then whoops, no. But anyway, the second question for today is, I have a ton of blueberries growing in my yard. How do I make a good wine out of them that isn't sweet?
Alrighty. My only problem is the good part, but but no, you can make any wine. You can make any wine dry. All wine should go to dry, I think. And then you can back sweeten them if you feel like it a little bit, but basically you want to add enough sugar to the original. Blueberries are not sweet enough to make a full strength wine.
Also, if a blueberry wine goes completely dry and doesn't have any sweetness, it tastes terrible.
Yeah, that actually is true. So I would use your recipe, whatever the recipe is.
Where do you get a good recipe?
I couldn't tell you for sure. You talk to me, and I'll look it up online and then I'll adjust that. Your recipe, you want your yeast to be happy. You want enough sugar content, starting sugar content in there. Blueberries basically have zero sugar. Like when like 1% or 2% is not that much compared to grapes. Which start out at like 25% sugar when they start. So any of the other fruits, you have to add a lot of sugar. Then that ferments, and it should go all the way. You want it to ferment all the way to dry. Then strain out your blueberries or whatever it is, and then you're gonna taste it, and you can back sweeten it just a little bit to make it right in the palate zone. Exactly.
I think one of the big things that I've seen at different competitions, one of them being in New York, where it's an international wine competition, but you also get a great deal of local wines being sent in from the New York State area with fruit being a major component, either 100% blueberry or cherry or whatever, and then also blends. And I think that they are always much better when they are blended with a grape wine as a base. So that, you know, say for example, you get one of those home wine kits, you make a Syrah, and then you've made a separate blueberry wine, and you can add some of that to the Syrah to make a complex, interesting wine. Otherwise, the blueberry on its own doesn't have the tannins or the structure or the interest, and so it's going to be rough. But I think that that's a nice way to kind of use your blueberries, but also make a decent wine that your neighbors want to drink.
Use your blueberries.
What's that even mean?
Who knows?
All right, moving on. Question 3 is, why would a winemaker age wine in a whiskey barrel, and what does that do for the wine? This is a popular thing that you're seeing more and more of. How do you feel about it?
God, I love whiskey and I love wine, but I don't love them together. I've had some of these. I don't know. You get, if you think of it not as like still wine, you get more of like a port-ish thing to it. But then there's like port ends up being good because there's sweetness that like a strong sweetness there. So you get like this flavor of the. I mean, whiskey and brandy are not that far apart in flavor. Like you could make a port out of brandy instead of, a port was, you know, that was fortified with whiskey instead of brandy, and it wouldn't be that far off.
That's kind of interesting, actually.
You know, obviously whiskey's a grain and brandy's made out of grape. The base that you then distill or whatever, and so they do have different flavor profiles. But like, you know, if you think of your Crevassier or whatever, compare that to some non-smoky, like maybe not
Johnny Walker.
No,
that?
all scotches have that peaty thing. So,
right, that is a scotch.
So, but like if you think of like a Canadian whiskey versus a Crevassier or something like that, and you end up with like, those are similar animals. And so I think if you were to fortify a wine and make a port with whiskey fortification, it wouldn't be that far off. But to put it just in a barrel, then you end up with some of those pretty intense, you probably gain 1% alcohol or something, and then
I don't like them.
And it just has a thing. I don't know.
But I also am not a whiskey drinker. But the one whiskey that I did like,
it might be okay with cigars. I don't know.
Maybe, but the one whiskey. Well, that's not true. There have been a couple of whiskeys I've liked, but the one that I really particularly am fond of is a whiskey that was aged in wine barrels. So there's the other going the other way too.
So most like most of the whiskeys have like some place they like to source the wood from. Like bourbons are 100% full toast, brand new barrels almost always, but like the scotches are all aged in old sherry barrels, and you know there's a lot of people that use old wine barrels for their whiskey aging, and that just adds a tiny little nuance that makes it
softer,
something that you love, some amount of softness.
To me.
It's just a new layer of complexity, but the whiskey flavors for wine is more than you're bargaining for.
And I feel like those wines are always really big. They're really jammy. They're really intense, monsters. And then they've got this, you know, harshness to them that I don't particularly find my palate. But you know,
I'd like to see like one whiskey barrel versus 9 non-whiskey barrels, and maybe that's subtle enough that it would just add complexity. And
so what he's talking about is when you've made a what is called a lot section, which would also be a lot of wine, and then you have to put it in different barrels because the barrel is a certain size. It needs multiple barrels in order to be aged that way, so it's separated out. So if you had just one of those barrels that was a whiskey barrel and the rest were regular wine barrels, French oak, is what we use. Then
So our average
would
lot
then
size
come
is
back together. You blend it back together, and that could give it just a little nuance without it being a huge imprint.
right. So our lot size is 4 to 8 barrels of each wine in each vintage, somewhere in there. So we'll put some in new barrels, some in old barrels, things like that. Yeah, we got to keep moving.
Eesh.
We're rambling on, apparently, guys. Hey, party on, Wayne. Party on, guys.
I like that you're both. You're Wayne and Garth. All right, so
I didn't think it was fair to call you Wayne or Garth, so and then I gotta be both.
I appreciate that.
You're that hot chick that has the snake around her in the Wayne and Garth movie. What's that? Except for you don't have a snake around you because you don't like snakes.
Yeah, you hate snakes. But I like that you're calling me the hot girl. Thank you, baby. All right, so the next question is, what do all of your tattoos mean? And when did you get your first one, and when did you get your last one? So
Okay.
we're a little short on time, so
I'll
how
fast.
do you quickly...
First one, the second I turned 18, and it's now covered up. Yeah, every first tattoo is always a bad tattoo, I think, but you're really proud of it and you love it for a while. And then I get them kind of periodically. So and I do have meanings, but they're not like. It's not. Yeah, I don't know. For me, that's not my thing.
Well, one of them is our daughter's footprint.
Right, so that's all right. So I got the daughter's footprint there.
That's cute.
You know, the baby footprint. So that's to commemorate her. This is my New Mexico heritage, basically.
No. It is.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Hey
Could you
Siri,
repeat it?
shut up.
Whatever, Siri. Was that Siri or was that Karen?
Anyway,
I've
got it on mute. I don't know why she was able to talk. That was horrible.
It's so weird when that happens. But that tattoo, that skull in particular, also represented the dead man race that he did a number of years ago. That was 53 miles.
I did run 53 miles about
Out in the desert.
7-8 years ago.
Cross country.
in,
Like this
in one shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dead Man Peaks 50 miler they call it, but it's actually 53. Anyway, that was awesome, my best race ever. Anyway,
And so that does have meaning.
it does. And then these ones up here, sailboat and an octopus, and that kind of sense of adventure and travel, and hopefully it's gonna be a pirate there for a while, but that's on delay for the time being. We had a decently tough crossing.
Terrifying crossing.
Almost lost a daughter in the situation, and we decided, you know what? Maybe we just chill out for a second or whatever on that one. But I'm a diver and a lover of the sea, a lover of the outdoors. So that's kind of what those ones mean, I guess, a little bit. I think I haven't gotten one since it's been about 5 years, but it's time's coming.
I know.
TikTok.
Tattoo parlors are opening. As for mine,
Hey now.
mine don't have any significant meaning per se either. Most of them are on the back of my body, which is kind of interesting. So this is actually kind of one-sided. Dragon, peonies. I have a koi down the back that I got for my 40th birthday from... she's really one of my sisters. We've been born and raised, grow up together.
I've been born here all my life.
All my life. And then I've got some bluebirds on the back of my calves and a bunch of other things. Oh, and I have this that is a drawing that our daughter did, actually. That's a meaningful one.
Yeah, and that was, she drew that at like 4 years old, I think, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl.
You probably can't see it anyway, but...
You could put it up there.
I could, but then I'd have to get up and sit down and man. Anyway, but I got my first one when I was 16. My parents did sign off on it.
No, did they really?
Yes. I know. I have the coolest parents.
And or are they bad parents?
No. And the last one I got...
Sorry, guys. It's not true. I think you guys are great.
Right. And so the last one, the most recent one I got, which is definitely not going to be the last, was the Koi when I turned 40. So that's a couple years ago now.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
yeah, but tattoos are fun, and if you don't have one, you should get one. All
If
right,
you want to, they're
last-
forever, but you actually don't end up caring that much after you get it. When you love it for a while, and then you're like, okay, it's
Yeah,
fine.
my first one I covered up too. Yeah, but you
We
know.
got one together before we were even together,
We did,
and then we covered them both up.
because they were not good.
No,
But that was a memorable weekend.
it was fun. That might have been the first time. Never mind.
Where's my muzzle or something? The last question is a question that actually popped up the other night when Jesse and I were hanging out together, and it created quite the stir and argument. So
Uh-oh, I'm
if you
scared.
wonder what we argue about, it's this.
Uh-oh.
If money was no object, what wine would you drink daily? Now, to me, that sounds like you're picking one wine to drink every day. Now, Jesse's take on this was a genre. Now, wouldn't you say what genre of wine would you want to drink every day? Not a specific wine?
This is that's a death sentence. Like, how do you, I mean, come on. I don't know. It almost doesn't matter at that point if it's just one. Like one single one. Like one from one particular, one specific variety
I
from
think
one specific
the idea was, is there a wine that if you had endless amounts of money that you would want to drink regularly? Maybe that would be a better interpretation of the question.
Yeah.
So that you can, do you want Sassicaia at, which is thousands of dollars a bottle? Do you want to drink that regularly? Or is it something else? I mean, maybe your favorite wine is still a cheaper wine. It doesn't have to be these rock star wines. And that's an interesting thing to point out. What is it that you would want to drink all the time?
I was thinking of palate saturation and be like, dude, if it's one of these super, God, not to pick on Napa this whole time, but like,
what's your deal?
Like Napa Cab is so good, but like, can you just drink that like every day and you don't like it's just so much. It's like getting punched in the mouth or whatever, like over and over and over again. If that, it's so pleasurable, but like after too long, you're like, geez, that's way too much. So I don't know.
Okay, so if it's a genre.
So if it's slightly genre, if it's a genre, and I can, I don't know. From last week, I would say like Barolo or actually Brunello's good. It's also huge, but it's huge.
Those are huge.
But they're huge in the European way, and they're or do you just, maybe I just say like Rhone Red, and go with it. It would definitely be a red for me.
So you also had a comment the other night, because this took forever, about how
We're running long.
there
baby.
was we're wrapping up. How there was a genre like style, not just a region, or So then the conversation stirred toward I love sparkling wines. I obsessively love them. I obsessively love rosés. So would I be able to drink more of those on a regular basis? If that was where the choice had to lead? I don't know.
Yeah, it's rough. I don't know, guys. That's about all we could say. There is no way to choose one. That's why the wine is so diverse. That how do you choose this one? It would suck.
Well, and then we ended up over onto a conversation of what if you just had to choose one winery other than our own, and
then once again, I would go towards Domaine Carneros.
you would, but you also mentioned
We found the best winery in the world. Actually, it's not Domaine Carneros. It's probably it's close.
Another
It's close.
great winery,
And you can't
that
buy
we
it.
love.
So this is almost inconsequential me even saying it, but
you can a little bit.
Longmont. There's the Longmont winery. The guy's name is Stefan Longmont and his whole family, and they are in Austria, and they're a sparkling house, but they have insane rosés. They have insane Sauvignon Blancs, still Sauvignon Blancs, and they have insane reds as well. So it's like they were really, 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 really good. And the cleanest, the best wines, Longmont. Stefan Longmont was he took really good care of us
Oh my gosh!
for like
And
4 days straight.
yeah, it was a incredible treat.
If this
what
lockdown caused us to go under, you'll find Michelle and I over there, outside of what's the
Langeg,
Langeg. But
Langeg?
what's the name of the bigger town there?
Oh,
I don't remember. But it's it's kind of right in the center of geographically of Austria.
Isn't it south? Because we just hopped right over the border.
It's a little bit. No, we drove quite a ways. Anyway,
I don't know.
but it's not. It's
Sorry.
It's like 2 or 3 hours south of Vienna, and it's amazing. That winery was amazing. He does some U.S. business, but
Yeah, I think you can get some in New York. So if there's a store that's carrying something out there, you could do it. But he's also one of our friends too. He became a friend of ours, as did his wife. And so hopefully we can, in these comments, which we will read and comment back on, of course, after the show. But I'll look for a link so that you guys can find ways to try out his winery too.
yeah.
So I feel like we went a little long, so we're going
Sorry,
to
guys.
skip some of the advice or trivia, even though Jesse really likes to give tips, but we're going to avoid that. And
only medium-sized tips.
no,
God damn it.
no. They're big tips, baby.
That's what they all say. They have to tell you that. These ones, you know.
Okay, so a couple of things. We are not opening on June 1st. So sorry. So we will keep you updated. Second thing, the New Mexico Mask Madness competition has officially started. And so you can find that link to go directly to vote for our mask with our VBOC logo. They're super comfortable as well. So if you don't have one, you can get on our website and order, or call our tasting room to order one too. But if you can vote for our mask, that would be awesome. You can vote every single day. So please keep voting, because that's going to help us get into the finals. And next week we are going to taste our new Malbec, which is phenomenal, and our Carignan, which is about to sell out.
Right.
So
we've only got a couple cases left back there, so if you order now, you could get it. If you don't, you probably can't. But the two make an interesting story together, so we'll tell you about that.
that's it.
That's
Thank you guys.
it.
Thank you
Cheers,
again
guys.
for tuning in. We love you. Thank you for all your support.
Jules, I love you too. I just saw you said I love you. Have a good one, guys.